Someday My Prince Will Come is the third episode of the fourth season of Cheers, and as is usually the case, I really enjoyed this episode, so there will be spoilers from now as I talk about various aspects of the narrative. And it starts off with Cliff, Norm, Sam, and Woody watching a game on TV. Diane's talking to customers. It's a nice enough introduction. It's not the funniest, but it's nice to have a lot of the gang in the opening. And then we have Carla coming into the bar and, quite interestingly, asking Diane for help. And this is because one of her kids, Gino, has made a generator for the school science fair. And asking Diane for help is a real turning point for Carla. And then ultimately, she asks Cliff for help because Diane didn't want to do it because she didn't want to do the kids' homework for him. And that's just so unusual for Carla. But at the same time, it suggests that she's willing to do these things for her kid, which is also a pretty great thing. And to be honest, we do come back to the generator at one point, but we don't really get that much more out of it. They could have done a bit more with it, but what we got was still pretty good. And then the main narrative kicks in, and Diane finds this cashmere coat left by the bar, and then she ends up rummaging in the pockets, which she probably shouldn't have done. But she finds some theatre tickets and a dry rose, and she decides that this must be a person that she's really interested in. It's her kind of person. And then the owner of the coat phones up Cheers to ask if he's left it, and indeed he has. Diane takes the call, and we have some comedy on the phone between them, and on a whim, she decides to ask him out on a date. Well, for coffee, which I thought was a really sweet thing to do. And Sam and Carla are at the bar at the time, and they kind of say that asking him on a date when she didn't know what he looked like was a bit of a risk. But Diane's adamant that it doesn't matter because based on what she knows, the brief information that she knows about his personality, she knows she's going to like him. And he comes into the bar. This is Stuart Sorensen, played by Frank Dent. And I have to say, he looks perfectly fine. No problems there at all. It's not as if Diane is immediately repulsed by him, which I think was obviously the right way to go. And they spend some time together, and then a week later, she goes into the bar with him. They're laughing and having a good time. And she goes into Sam's office with Sam and admits that she's not attracted to him. And she feels really bad that she keeps focusing on his looks, on Stuart's looks, despite the fact that they're having an amazing time together. And we have this really great exchange between Sam and Diane, and I'm really loving their friendship at the moment. There's no tension between them anymore. Nothing feels awkward or uncomfortable. I feel like we've reached a point where I don't feel like one of them is going to snap at any moment, whereas throughout all of season 3, that was definitely the case. So it's a real turning point in their relationship as well. And Diane decides that she's going to tell Stuart the truth, that she really admires him and, thinks he would be a great friend, but she's not attracted to him romantically. And then out of nowhere, after she tells a rather comedic lie, Stuart admits there's somebody else, which is an unusual thing considering he has, as we've been told, spent the week with Diane, and then seemingly out of nowhere he's decided to be with somebody else. So it's not the best thing for him to do, but considering Diane was about to break it off, can't really complain too much. And then we end on a very light-hearted but funny note where Sam makes Diane confess that she was only with Sam for his looks because there's no other reason anybody would be with him. And when she admits that, Sam doesn't realise that actually the joke's on him. But it was a very light way to end the episode, and I thought it worked really well. You may have noticed I've not shared too many quotes with this discussion, and that's because there wasn't that much that made me laugh out loud. It was a great episode and I really enjoyed it, but there are some episodes where I'm just laughing out loud at things characters say. With this one, everything was well done, well delivered. We had some comedy with Woody not really understanding the situation. I think it's very clear at this point what kind of humour Woody is bringing us, and as I've mentioned before, it's a very similar style to Coach in some ways, but also very different in some aspects, and I think that was a really good decision. I enjoyed this episode a lot. It might not be one of my favourites, but we had a lot of great moments, and ultimately, Someday My Prince Will Come is a really good episode.